NGPaaS stands for Next Generation Platform as a Service, and mainly we are focusing on building a framework to build the PaaS. We have mainly three design rules. So we are separating the how, and the what, and the where. I start by the what. I mean, what do you need as a service to be deployed? This is completely separate from the how this service will be delivered, and the where this service will be deployed. So once we are separating the what, the how, and the where, you can combine easily in all the dimensions. And this is what we try to demonstrate here by demonstrating one of the use cases that we have, this mission critical scenario. So imagine that we are receiving 112 call for fire. So the fireman will deploy a slice, an end-to-end network in few minutes. So in that case, once we receive the call, the administration of the firemen, we start by deploying the core. So here we are showing the 5G core, so which is cloud native 5G core, microservice, and the deployment is already now ongoing in the public cloud. So here mainly we are deploying the 5G core in Paris. Then we, as you can see, we have many components, and each component there is some dependency. For that reason, it takes some time. So the most interesting part that here it's the functional part, the functional orchestration that we are introducing in the project. So it takes more or less than 3 minutes to deploy the core. Once we deploy the core, now we move to the run part, and the radio part will be deployed on the fireman track. So we have only here the antenna, and we assume that we have some CPU capability in the fireman track, which is this laptop. So if you click now on the counter, which is very important, we can notice that the deployment of the 5G core, it lasts less than 3 minutes. Okay, then we move to the deployment of the service of the second platform, since here is a typically platform of the platform. So we are deploying one platform for the core, another platform for the run. The platform here is Kubernetes, which with telco grade feature, which are developed by the project and released in open source. So as you can see, the run part now it is deployed in less than 20 seconds. At this time, we have now an end-to-end network, 5G, 4G for the run, 5G for the core, operational, and we have a coverage here of 40 meters, and the frequency is 850 megahertz. So at this time, with the firemen can communicate between themselves using the push-to-talk service that we can show now. It works, since now we connect these two devices to the network, and we can show the push-to-talk. So now we move to the second part of the demonstration, which is also very important in what we are doing, since in the project mainly we are pushing some design rules which are very important. The first one, this workflow, since all what you are showing here are managed using the same workflow for designing, deploying, and optimizing. The same workflow for the servers, for the platform, and for the infrastructure. So everything is software. So the code that we already showed in the first screen is delivered in the reality by some vendor. So now the vendor will deliver a new release of the software. Okay, so here we demonstrate that the full setup, which takes also a couple of minutes, from the development side in the vendor and to the deployment in the production in the operator side. And this is typically what we demonstrate now in the second step. So in the vendor side, I create a new version of one of the components already deployed in 5G core. So now we have this new version that it is created here in the repository of the vendor. Once this is done, so at the vendor side, he has to run a couple of testing, since he has to validate and test the component before promoting the component to the operator, between sending a message to operator to say, I have a new release or new feature for my component that it is running in the production from your side. So here we are running now, we are showing the different step of the testing. So we see that here, the first is we promote the function or the new feature or the new component in the repository. Then we are running the different tests from the deployment, the test component, and this it takes more or less a few seconds at each step. So we see here the progress of all the testing. So what we are seeing here is one of the pillars of the cloud native transformation that we are bringing to 5G, which is mandatory now to embark any vertical in the ecosystem. I think what we are building here is very important to solve this hard question, how to embark vertical in 5G ecosystem. And typically what we are showing here is one of the pillars for the cloud native. In the cloud native we have microservice, we have container and DevOps. So here is the DevOps at the vendor side. So once it is done, we move to the operator side. So here is the vendor, here the operator. Once this is done, we promote our new feature, our new release of the function to the operator. So the operator will receive this new function. So again, the operator has to run the full test and validation of the component in a staging platform deployed also by the same workflow. And the testing would be run using an end-to-end network inside the same platform. I mean, we have the run part and we have the core with the new feature. Now we are updating the branch of the master. Once this is done, then we move to the operator side. And at the operator side, we will run the same process of the validation and testing. But here it is important to mention that at the operator side, we will test the service of the core. Here is the function delivered by the vendor. Here is the service already deployed in the operator side. So now we see here in the repository that we have promoted one new feature less now in 2 minutes. There is the version, I think 0.45. The same. This is now we are testing and the operator side, the service, 5G service. So I mean, in our staging platform, we deploy the run part and the core, where we integrate this new feature and we run the test. If everything is fine, in that case, the operator will decide to put the new feature in production. So in that case, he will promote the new feature in the production, and after this time, we see that we will update the core service running in production. One of the components will be updated, and this update has no impact on the communication that we already shown. I mean, the push to talk of the that we already shown at the beginning is still running, so there's no impact on the service. To benefit from this capability, to exploit the upgrade of the function without interrupting the people that are already connected in the network. And this is the hard part. And here we demonstrated that, well, I mean, it takes end to end, it takes 10 minutes from the development side to the operator side to the production without interrupting the service. We are demonstrating also our design rule in the project on other scenario. For example, we are working with vertical on the drone, so we are easily embark them, since any vertical is simply a new platform, so we can combine the platform between themselves at the service level. Also here we have another use case based on Core 6.0. We have also the project OSM, and this is very important as a message that NGPaaS is advocating there is no one size fits all, and we are integrating all the possibility for the platform, and we can combine them as the operator wants. We can have Kubernetes on the right, ONAP on the left. We have core, and we can combine all this platform easily at the service level. And this is what we're demonstrating in practice